live with Fred Marcerou. The time is there.
8:15 a.m.
And you're on holidays from the rugby season, so you had to set the alarm.
Yes, yes. I wake up a bit later on holidays.
Summer in France. There's no sunset. Hey, it's long days.
Yeah. Soon summer, but long days at the moment.
Did you head back home? Are you back in Montpellier?
Yes, I'm back in Montpellier. So I live in Bordeaux during 11 months because I work with Bordeaux in Rugby Union Top 14 as a strength coach. And when I'm on holidays, go back to Montpellier where I have my apartment and my girlfriend lives.
So what's it like Bordeaux, working with the top level rugby union? How are you finding your journey so far in the 15-a-side game?
It was quite different. So the context is we are in France. So it's quite different between rugby union and rugby league because rugby league is a small sport in France. There is just one or two professional teams, which are Catalan Dragon and Toulouse. And top 14 is very big, rugby union. So a lot of money. We've got a huge facility, the best gym I've ever worked in. And the culture is very, very different, the training culture. So the French guys, basically they don't like the weights. They prefer running. There is a massive culture of running in France, endurance. If you're not good on an aerobic side, you're not ready to play at high level. But I can see when I arrive in Bordeaux, I can see weak athletes. Their body composition was not great, and power and speed were just really, really bad. So changed me because I work with the Catalan Dragons with a lot of famous Australian players and very good French players as well. And athletic development was a lot better. So I changed my system. I don't train the Bordeaux player like the Catalan player. I had a 3-year plan, which was my long-term athletic development plan. And the first year was to work on their strengths, build strengths around the basics lift. My first goal was to give them a good range of motion on the squat, on chin up, good technique on a bench press, military press, and deadlift, as well on the Olympic lifts. So yeah, range of motion, good technique, good bar speed, and I didn't care with the performance that much, even if I really like to have a classification in the player and top rank, stuff like that in the gym. But my first year was the goal was to work on range of motion and technique, and the second year was the goal was to build their strengths and power, which we did this year, and we have a continuous improvement around the last 2 years. And next year, my goal will be to apply the strengths we build more, so quicker. Yeah, so that's what the long-term plan.
You have Semi Rodrada there as well,
yes.
Hey? So you still have some rugby league influence, even when you went all the way to Bordeaux.
Yes. Semi is an amazing athlete. His body weight is around 102 kg. His body composition is nearly perfect. Good
Sec.
Speed.
Dry. The French say dry when someone is lean.
Sec.
Yeah.
Sec.
Good numbers. Hey, you send me some of your data over there, and some of the best numbers. His.
Yeah, around in power stuff and explosive So jumps,
that's the only important numbers.
Yeah, he's the best. His strength numbers are not that great for this athlete, but power and speed, he's the best, definitely, by far.
Maybe we can touch on that, because I know you love powerlifting, you as much as me. You know, we've both had the influence from Sheiko, and we've done some work with, you know, Sebastian Oreb, and we like, you know, your lifts are much more impressive than mine, but I have an academic interest in powerlifting as well. What's, you know, where would you say it fits in, you know, for people who are thinking, or maybe I need to really delve deeply into powerlifting? Like, what results have you seen when the powerlifts get better? At what stage is that really good, and when does it, you know, when is it not that good? Like,
so for rugby players, professional rugby players, I had a link between improving powerlifting and improving jumps and acceleration. For sure, we can see. I've seen it with the Catalans, and I've seen it as well with Bordeaux players. And it was more impressive in Bordeaux because they had no background in Olympic lift. Before I take charge of the weight program, they just did some hang clean, 70 kg, no more, because it hurts, because you can have injury if you
back.
Yes. So I've changed it for the first pre-season. I bet with some players at the end of pre-season you will clean, I think, 100 from the floor or maybe from the hang. They said no, for sure, never. I've never been over 70. I said, okay, we can bet maybe a restaurant or lunch. And
French is a good meal.
Yes, a good meal.
Good motivator.
Yeah, for friends and a good meal. That's a way of thinking in France. And the player lifted 105 on week 9. So I had a lunch, free lunch.
Yeah.
So yeah, powerlifting. I can see a lot of improvement in acceleration, and the player feel it. That's the most important. They feel the transfer. They like lifting weights with speed. They really like. They like because it's easy to feel the improvement in technique when you just start, and they really like to feel the improvement. And when they improve their technique, rugby players, they can put maybe 5 or 10 kilo on the bar quite easy, quickly.
Yeah.
And they really like the feeling, the sensation. And during session, when you put Olympic lift in your sessions, I never had to push the player to do the lift, or to say, okay, you have to do it because we want to get you faster, or they just do it because they like. There is no eccentric contraction, or they do it or they fail, but it's a different ambience. And I can see competition during the Olympic lift sessions, and a lot of motivation and a good ambience, because when a player hits a PB, the other guys are just screaming, and there is a good ambience.
Yeah, that environment, if you can get things, you know, you can get people excited about being in a place, like that's probably something that isn't necessarily spoken about that much when you go and study strength, you know, exercise science, and you're lecturing at universities and things over there. When you actually talk about, well, that actually makes the world of difference. I mean, it is actually in the literature from guys like Verkhoshansky, who said if the goal isn't there and you're not reaching for a target, then the method doesn't even work. You know, I think that's a huge thing, and I think it's a good take home if anyone's listening to this, that, you know, it makes a difference what the environment is and what the intent of the player, of the athlete is. Headed down to the Roosters tomorrow, you know, on the board there at the Roosters, you can see in the background of PJ Lane's Instagram stories and such, you know, you'll see the intent, you know, posted up there, and that's one thing that you tend to get a lot of when you do weightlifting. But yeah, you have to set it up right. You know, I've definitely walked into the Roosters and all the programs had 40 kilo snatch at the start of the year and 40 kilo snatch at the end of the year. And yeah, they came near the bottom of the table, and that's how you would train if you wanted to come near the bottom of the table. In my opinion, like the results correlated to what was going on there. And, there's many reasons why that happens. And it can be really difficult to be in that environment, that strength and conditioning environment. And you're worried about injuries and this and that, and influences coming in from all over the place. It's not cut and dry environment of looking at a program and textbook. But I love what you're saying there about the, seeing that environment. What about, your squat, bench, deadlift, talk about those, because we're sort of talking about our clean results there. I know you had a weightlifting comp as well, and you had some massive lifts in there by the end. You weren't just getting guys to 100. You had big South African man pumping some big weights.
I think a good coach, strength coach in the gym has to have some magic tricks. I felt we got a very important week. We played Castres, which was the French champion. We played them away, and we were in a not that great position. And we had to win away against the French champion. And I thought I had to feel something different to these guys on the week. That's why I organized a weightlifting competition. So in the gym, 3 attempts, the scoreboard, and everything was set up like a Olympic lift competition. And I think I had the best session, 11 years in my career. We had the best session. Everyone was really pumped, and I think we got 80% of the team who hit their PB. And 80%. 80%. So pretty much every player hit their PB. And I did a 6-week cycle. So that was week 6. So it was expected. Timing. Yeah, perfect timing. And we got some 150 power clean from the South African guy, Yandre Mare, 140 for Jeff Poirot, the French prop, French national team prop. 5 or 6 guys at 130, 132. Yeah, which was good.
Yeah, it takes some time to progress through the weightlifting, and some coaches they choose not to use it because you have to teach a skill, and for that reason, some people don't like it. But for me, it's just barbell throwing and catching, and you can't throw and catch anything like a barbell. There's no other implement that's as throwable, catchable as a barbell. So it doesn't have to be rocket science, right? Like it's how long does it usually take you? Like with an average athlete, I don't know, there is no average, but like if you had to average it out, how long would you say it takes for an athlete to feel reasonably comfortable with a clean or a snatch?
Usually I try to, so in rugby union, we've got 7 to 8 weeks in preseason, and I try all the athletes feel comfortable at the end of preseason. Yeah. So 7 to 8 weeks, basically 2 months. Yeah.
You use the lift in season if you want to, because they're comfortable.
Yeah.
And do you usually shorten the range of motion as you go through the season, or?
No, I start with the hang clean. I start just to feel the good position, and we progress from hang clean to full clean. Yeah. And then in season, I like to alternate full clean, hang clean, depending on what I want to work on. Yeah. So if it's more explosive from tension, this is hang clean from isometric start, or with elasticity, so reactive hang clean, or power from the floor with big range, with full range. Depending on what I want to work, I change the variation of the exercise.
Do you use any from the blocks, from the platforms?
We don't have blocks in Bordeaux. We have a big gym, but don't have a support or blocks. So this year I didn't use. I've slightly changed the full clean for the big second rower, back rower. Tall guys, we start from an elevated position, so maybe 20 centimeter, but not from support.
Yeah, okay.
And,
I know that
this is interesting. Sorry, Kings. This is interesting what you say. My opinion about Olympic lifting is if you don't put Olympic lifting in your session because it's too hard to teach, I think you're not a coach. Just because if you coach, you have to be able to teach all the movement. And yeah, that's my opinion, just my opinion.
Yeah, and you're allowed to have your opinion. You're a coach. I understand that some, if some people don't want to put it in, but yeah, not putting it in because it's too hard to teach, I think is a sad place to be. And I think a lot of coaches they just can't do the lifts, so that's a huge part. We're going to get to Real Movement, I guess, but a huge part of Real Movement is like, do the stuff. Like once you can do a bunch of things, you're going to have a lot more confidence. You're going to be more respected. You're going to have more to talk about, and you're going to get better results. Like, how long does it take to be proficient at weightlifting? If you focus on it for 6 months, 12 months, then you're going to be okay at it. And if you just avoid it and just, make up excuses and whatever, you're missing like the foundation of weight training. Like I've got these old time strength books here, and they talk about one arm snatches and they talk about two arm snatches and one arm jerks and all kinds of variations and huge weights. But that's where weight training came from. Like the fast lifts have always been there, and I guess this game now of like, oh, you're a fast lift guy or you're a slow lift guy. For me, it's stupidity to choose a team. You should be able to do it all,
And the speed of your training is so you have transfer from the speed where you train. So you have to train slow lift and you have to train fast lift as well, because you've got slow force production in rugby and fast as well.
Yeah. Yeah. What about trap bar? The argument would be trap bar jumps or, clean pulls. What's your feeling about those? Just do those variations. Maybe weighted box jumps, just do those things instead of using the Olympic lifts.
I think it works. Yeah, you can do it, but I just reserve this exercise if the player has a massive injury or can't do the lift or don't have the mobility. My goal is to improve his mobility, to become
crazy talk.
Yeah.
Solve the problem. Crazy talk. Yeah. No, you just make them do other stuff. Don't solve the problem.
No, but we can start with a variation for sure, with trap bar jump or just hang pull or high pull. But my goal is in the future, he has to do the Olympic lift.
If you're in a team environment, and that's the thing, you can see the other players value it. You can see the coach values it. There aren't many players who are happy to be on the outside of that and not play the game. It's like sitting on the bench of rugby. Like no one wants to be the bench player. Or if they want to be the bench player, then, they're not going to be around very long,
Yeah, definitely. That's what I've seen when we did the Olympic lift. Some of the players say, I want to do like the other guys. I say, okay, at the moment, you can't because of lack of mobility, shoulder or whatever, or your back. So we do this variation, but you have to work. You have to work hard. You have to work to do some extra mobility work and or rehab. And when you'll be ready, you will be in the team. You will be. You can lift with the other boys. You can have the same ambience, same environment in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's an incentive for them to fix something that's broken. Broken athletes don't tend to perform as well. And some people will be like, oh no, just let them play rugby. Well, whatever's holding them back from being able to weightlift is probably holding them back from being the best athlete they could be as well. Like, oh, we won't full squat because it's going to hurt their knees and their back. And it's like, well, if they've got crap backs and knees, maybe you're going to have more injuries and less performance than the other teams. What's your thoughts on full squats? Poliquin was always the leave a stain kind of guy. I know you've done some low bar squats as well. Talk to us about your take on what squats should these rugby players be doing.
I think full squat has a lot of transfer. So I always say, why is the squat the only exercise you don't want to do full range? Because when you bench, when a player bench, every coach say, okay, touch the chest, or it doesn't count. When you do a chin up, you say, okay, you have to go over the bar. But
I've seen half benches. I've seen a lot of half chin ups where you kind of almost get the eyes to the bar. That's a rugby. That was the rugby league standard chin ups.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah. No,
yeah, but we always ask for full range, and why the squat is the only exercise you can't do full range. I understand when I have some very tall guys around 2 meters. I don't know how many feet.
We're metric over here. We don't care about Americans. There's no Americans listening to this podcast, so it's like maybe like 6'6" or something is about 2 meters. If you are American and you're listening to this and you're offended, then send me a message. But yeah, it's probably probably about 6'6", 6'7", something like that. 200 centimeters. Big boys.
Yeah, tall boys, and I can see that they've got a lot of difficulty to do a full squat. So it's okay for them to do halfway, or the way they can have transfer. But for the other guys, yeah, full squat, and it's better for your knee, better for your hip. That's why for my first season in Bordeaux, the performance exercise on the squat was the front squat, because I can see people going more on a full range. It's easier to go on a full range on the front squat. That was my performance exercise last year. This year was more box squat, because I want to have standard depth, just to test their strengths. But we still did the front squat during the season, just to make sure we are strong on the full range. But yeah, if you can go full range, go full range.
One of the things, because I had a guy, Kane Evans, I think he's about 6'6", 6'7", probably one of the tallest guys in rugby league. He was sort of, he was in the squad at the Roosters, and then he went to Parramatta, but very tall. He had a lot of trouble around the hips and glutes and that sort of thing. We worked really hard on that area. But one of the things I did with him was to use goblet squats, and his form wasn't always perfect, and we couldn't load it that hard, but at least he got through the positions. And I feel as though that was because he'd had a lot of injuries, and then, he didn't have injuries. That was really the goal with him, was just play a year, and then you're going to be close, And then he got picked up. He got a good deal. So, I guess I think my feeling is you should still goblet squat them. You should still split squat them, and then do partial squats. Do box squats or bench squats for load, because otherwise you're not going to expose them to load, and load is very load is still key. You got to hit that load. So I think you can make a compromise. It's not necessarily one or the other. And that's probably the case for a lot of guys when you start, right? At the start, you have to settle for box squats with the heavy weights, but you can be goblet squatting and split squatting, and then, over time you can, it's nice to have your whole squad squatting, bum to floor. And my feeling is you're going to get a lot less ACLs, meniscus tears, cartilage, all those knee problems. Lower backs are going to be healthier. What are your thoughts? Like, do you think you see any correlation with that kind of stuff? Like, once people can do it?
Yeah, definitely. I've got data about it. Yeah. And this year on our backs in Bordeaux, we got a lot of backs with bad knees, and the guy who have bad knees can't go full range on the squats. Some can, some can't. Some are just afraid of going too low. But the guy who had bad knees or can't squat very deep, they've got muscle injury during
Yeah.
season. Yeah.
Yeah. So they get quad tears, hamstring tears.
Yes. More. Yeah, we've got more groin this year. We had a
Right.
few groin and some hamstring as well. But
Yeah.
the guy who don't have the good mobility around hip and bad knees, they had a muscle injury. And the guy who can full squat with good range, with good technique, lot less injuries. So no muscle injury for them.
Yeah. Yeah. This is my feeling as well. As long as I think the problem I made, because remember Remy Casti is a good friend of yours, and he came and played at the Roosters. He's one of my favorite athletes that I ever had the chance have had the chance to work with so far. You know, all heart, great guy. He had a massive quad tear. We were doing some speed work, and it was running onto a ball at speed and then accelerating, and he just had tore his rec fem in two. He's got a little, lump. It's a pretty nasty injury to have. And he does have good range of motion, and he did squat deep. My feeling is that I wasn't doing enough split squats, quasi-isometric split squats, that kind of work to take some tension out of the quad and to train the quad through a full range of motion from both joints. People think, oh, you can squat deep, everything's fine. But the other side of the equation is, hip flexors. You can get into that deep, fully shortened position, fully flexed hip, but where's the hip extension at? And if that's not good, then I believe that was a mistake that I made. I made a lot of mistakes, but we can save that for another podcast. Maybe what's something that your thoughts are evolving on, where you feel like you made a mistake potentially at Catalans or Montpellier before that, or that you don't do now, or you've evolved on?
I think when I think about the time I was at the Catalan, I'm a bit disappointed or sad because I think I hadn't the experience or I would like to have maybe 2 or 3 years more experience to be better on the player management and to have better relations with the players. That was my first role in a professional environment when I started working with you for a few months, and my first season after as a rehabilitation strength and conditioning coach. And then I moved straight after 1 year as a head of strength and conditioning for 3 seasons. My first season, we had a good season because we reached the semifinals in Super League. I thought, that's easy. That's easy. We didn't have that much injuries. We had good results. We reached the semi, so that's easy. And 2 years after, I had a lot of massive problem with some players who didn't have good lifestyle or didn't want to train well, and I didn't have the good experience to manage them the best way, And now I've changed, I've evolved. When I finished at the Catalans, I had a good trip to Australia, a good 3 months where I visited 6 clubs. I've been to Scotland as well. I've talked a lot with other strength and conditioning coach from professional level to amateur level. And I said, okay, maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I shouldn't talk with this guy this way. Maybe it's better to push this sort of players. Maybe it's good to be nicer with this sort of player. I didn't have the experience to do that. And now in Bordeaux, after 2 seasons, the relations I've got with players and staff is just wonderful. And I've got absolutely no problem to push the player and to talk with them. I think I had the competencies on the paper just to write program. The sort of thing you learn at uni. You learn how to to build program and how to make recovery, how to plan a week. But in France, I don't know in Australia, but in France, you don't know how to manage, how to coach, and that was my biggest mistake, I think, and that's the biggest improvement I had.
And I think traveling itself is a big human experience, right? Like all the people you meet and just, constantly changing your environment and that kind of thing in itself, I think is awesome, massive for people's skills. I actually think that's why I got the job at the Catalan Dragons, because Trent Robinson, the head coach, he loved to travel as well. And he'd been on some good adventures and he'd lived in France and traveled all through Europe. And then, he was looking for a coach, and I'd just come back from 6 years on the road, basically, 22 to 28. I'd been traveling all around the world, and I'd learned Spanish and I'd met so many different people. And I think it was really because of that. Like that was my first role as the head of a program after 6 years on the road. Like it was a pretty crazy appointment in a lot of ways. But I think it was that side that, that he wanted. And I know as at 22, before I did all that travel, even though I'd been working at Parramatta in London, there's no way I could have gone into that role as a human. I definitely wouldn't have been able to do it, so I probably, the travel itself, as well as all those people that you met, would make a big difference. To be fair, Fred, you had, there'd been coaches in Australia who'd had the same challenges with some of those players that had been recruited to the Catalans as well. It's like the Gold Coast of the Super League. Like it's a great place to live. Not necessarily the best environment for guys who have a tendency to be a bit distracted by other components of life. But, in hindsight, like it's a great baptism of fire. You sort of had the chance to learn a lot, I think, in a short period of time. And, I wanted to stay there with you for a couple of years and work together. And, maybe that would have made your transition slightly easier to being a head coach, head of performance, potentially. But yeah, it wasn't to be. And, I'm glad I got the opportunity to go to Sydney, and I think, things have worked out for you as well. So, it is what it is. But maybe we can touch on that, because it can be a really hard job. And I know of quite a few coaches who've either become really sick because of the stress, or, there's suicides, there's tumors, there's cancers, and it's not necessarily a profession where people are very healthy, even though strength and conditioning really should be, health, strength and conditioning. Like it's kind of at the base of it, but it's not actually something that's really taught at university, like the psychology side of things. There are three pillars in real movement is, movement, wellness, mind. If you don't have wellness in mind, then you only have movement. And even then, often the mobility is not done that well. The skill development isn't really part of the strength and conditioning guy's role. So you've just got strength and endurance, and then, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, I guess, to unpack. But what are your thoughts? Like, if there are guys out there who are personal trainers or strength and conditioning coaches who are really stressed and they're really struggling to deal with the compliance and the people that they're dealing with, they're not getting the result they want, the team's losing, or their athletes or their clients aren't buying in, they're not getting the result they want, they're frustrated.
Yeah.
What would your advice be?
Because I was just thinking my way, and I said, okay, I think I'm good at programming strength, and I'm good at programming endurance, speed, and players has to do what I want to do. That's not the right way. You have to talk. I think now I talk a lot more with the players. I put them in the middle of the project, in the middle, and I said, okay, where do you want to go? Which sort of player you want to become? What are your goals? Where do you think you can improve? What do you think you are good at? What do you think you are weak or bad? I never say weak or bad, but what do you want to improve?
Yeah.
And if the player answer, with honesty. He just say what he wants. So you just have to write on a paper and you tell him, okay, you just said it. So now work for it. And it helps. It helps because it's not you who set the goals, it's the player. So if you don't respect the contract, you don't train well, you won't have this, and it's you say that. So
yeah, that's definitely the best way to go. You know, that's, if you look at motivational interviewing, I read motivational interviewing book that John Berardi recommended. You know, the guru from Precision Nutrition and old T-Nation writer back in the day. And that's, you know, if you can ask questions and get what people want, like that's definitely better than telling them, no, you need to do this, you need to do that. Yeah, definitely. Like it's good sales strategy. People think, I'm working strength and conditioning, I don't need to have any business skills, or I don't need to have sales skills. But everyone does sales and marketing. There's Bob Proctor, a mentor of mine, says there's two professions. There's sales and there's, you know, product delivery. So you're either doing one or the other, or you're doing both. In your job, you have to do both. If you're not selling and you're just delivering a product that the people didn't order, then the people aren't going to be happy, and you're not going to get the best result that you could get. Probably not going to keep your job. No.
Yeah, definitely. This is what I try to do to sell the program. But if I can feel the player is a bit hard to manage, I say, okay, we do 50-50. You like to do that, I will put in your session. I would like you to do that. I put in your session as well. We do 50-50. If it's good, it's good. If you feel good, if you improve, we stay like this. If you get worse, you can do just your program. But if you improve, I try to put a bit more of my philosophy, but try to keep a bit of what he likes. You talk about Semi Radradra. He's got a lot of exercise he likes to do. He likes to do crunches. He likes to do abs at the end of sessions. And I don't care, because he's the best on the field. And from what I've seen, he did a lot of abs at the end of session, just as an extra. And the French guys just went into the changing room after the session. And when they saw Semi with 3 or 4 line breaks every weekend, doing crunches, they did crunches in the session.
Yeah.
Sit-ups and crunches. So that was good, because they did an extra work, which was good for them, good for me, good for the team spirit. So yes.
There's definitely a lot of art. I think that's kind of the biggest take home. I think that, you know, someone is listening, there's an art to this thing as well as a science. That's kind of what you're sharing with us. What about on the science side? You're sharing some of your breakthroughs on psychology. What are you loving, or whose influence are you excited about in strength science? Or, you know, it's got to be about strength and power. It doesn't, but, you know, whatever, anything in performance science that you're excited about at the moment.
I'm fond of strength training, so I read a lot about strength, but I try to read more about speed and change of direction stuff, multi-directional speed and stuff like that. I come from track and field, so I've got a base about running. I know a bit about it, and when I left university, I think in France we study a lot about endurance, so I've got good knowledge about how to improve endurance.
Yeah.
Come from track and field, so I know a bit about speed, and we didn't do that much about strength and power. That's why I went into Clermont-Lérault with you for one session, the Olympic lifting club.
Weightlifting club, yeah, that was a special experience. I tell you, I remember about that, those kids, seeing those 8, 9, 10-year-old kids bouncing into the building and snatching, you know, and with those massive plastic plates on the bar and squatting, you know, body weight, squatting, you know, 20, 30 kilos, punching out, you know, reps like that still stays with me as like, this is what we need to be doing. We can put bars on kids' backs. They're not made out of plastic. They're less less fragile than we are. You know, that was a special place. Though. Like I enjoyed that session. I think I snatched 80. I think I've still got videos. I think I put on YouTube my training from that day.
Yeah.
Not that it was good, but
yeah.
Still. But yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I started to learn more about strength training, and now I'm really fond of strength training. I try to learn about the best trainers in the world. So I like Sheiko for strength as well, but I like Louis Simmons with Westside Barbell. They've got pretty much two opposite system and way of thinking, but they produce big lifters. So that's really interesting for me to learn about Sheiko and Simmons as well. I like Sebastian Oreb as well. When I've been to Sydney, I've paid him 2 hours of coaching just first to train at base gym, which was I look at it on Instagram and I said, oh, I want to train in this gym, and then to have the knowledge of Sebastian. I was always a big fan of Charles Poliquin. Why? Because when I started to search about strength training on the net, he's got maybe 600 or 700 articles on his website, and he was the easier to read for me, the easiest to read, and that's why I read a lot about Charles Poliquin, all these books, a lot of his articles. I've been to 4 of his certifications, and even if I don't use Charles Poliquin system in my system now with rugby player, it set the base of my system. That was the base. And when I started working with Catalans, with the young players, I've worked with Poliquin exercise, which is a polyarticular exercise, use of tempos, use of supersets. Keep it simple, stupid. I like.
Yeah, there's a lot of the fundamentals of strength training that just other people, other systems don't pay any attention to. I think I've just built out a level 1 course, and it's trying to be like, well, in 10 hours, what does someone need to know to be able to get good results with someone? And for sure, there's so much stuff that I learned from Charles, even though, yeah, like my first year at the Roosters when we won the premiership, like it was a West Side, approach. And I'd been and spent time with Phil Richards, and, he really massively influenced the way I did that 2013 season. And I wouldn't change it, obviously I do it differently now, but I think that the intensity that I brought and the emphasis on rate of force development and things was a good move. But there's just so many things from Charles, and even though he has a very different manner as well, like just the seriousness and the respect that he has for strength training, and his ability to have premium events and for people to pay for that and all that sort of stuff, like just the self-respect, I think, in his system. Like there's so many things that have a big influence on how I live day to day now. Even though I'm doing, sometimes I train very Poliquin style, and other times not at all. Today I did 12 sets of 12 reps on the bench press at 60 kilos with chin-ups in between, and then 15 reps of quad board squats and 15 reps of 45-degree hyper for like 10 sets, and then yoke carries and wheel rollouts. And it's definitely not a kind of session. I don't know, but he has all sorts of sessions, I guess, within his system. But what are you going to train today?
Today I'm gonna train upper body. So at the moment I train upper, lower, upper on Monday and Thursday, lower on Tuesday and Friday. And when I train upper, I try to have 4 lifts. I like to change the lift. At the moment, it's the end of season. I'm on holidays. I don't want to have a strict program. So I want to have a horizontal push, horizontal pull, vertical push, vertical pull. Bit of core at the end, a bit of shoulder rehab because I had a tendonitis during the season after hitting a PB on the bench. a few weeks after I had a tendonitis. So yeah, for today it will be a dumbbell bench press, it will be a chin up, it will be a dumbbell row, and alternated military press with dumbbell as well. 6, 8, 10.
6, 8. Yeah. Very nice. What about what are you excited about lower body at the moment? Are you pushing for PBs, or it's kind of like a maintenance phase?
I just started a new cycle to reach a PB at Christmas, because I beat my PB end of 2018. I did a 220 back squat, which was my PB, and I would like to have 240 at Christmas this year. So I just started. I do my back squat, which is a progression for 6 months. I do my back squat on Tuesday, and on Friday I use a variation. I do lower reps now. I did a front squat last week. I will do a box squat this week. I try to change the second exercise, the variation, on my second session, just to have a more fun and more change.
Yeah, and I mean, Westside Barbell's kind of proven that kind of training can work well. We used a lot of variation at the Roosters, that 2013 season, because they'd all been involved in a program that was pretty monotonous and relatively boring. They appreciated the variety of what we did. It's kind of reckless in a way because they're never adapting to anything, but that's also kind of the way that rugby league is. If they're able to deal with chaotic weight training, then they may deal better with the chaotic on the field environment, where the gym numbers are secondary to the field numbers. That was kind of what we did, and it was it was a good year.
That was the way. That was the way I trained at the Catalans. We changed with variation each week or each 2 weeks. In Bordeaux, because first they had the French guys had not that much background about weights, and they didn't value weights. My goal was to do a longer cycle and keep the same exercise for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Because they don't know, or if I change every week, they just ask me how heavy. I don't know. So we keep the same exercise. The big lift, we keep the same exercise for 3 weeks, so they can adapt, they can learn and know what's the best weight they can put on the barbell. The Catalans, I use more variation because they got good background and they know how to put on the barbell for that kind of lift.
Yeah, I think it's just having different tools, knowing different approaches can work, and it's important that you're excited as the coach, right? Like I think it's okay to change things up if you feel like there needs to be something different. I think that's a sign of a good coach to recognize that this situation is different to the one I was in before, and this is what I believe is going to work best now. So do that. That's key. You're now mentoring a lot of coaches. How do you feel? We've come into Real Movement. You sort of learn a bit about Real Movement with me, and then we spoke about getting something off the ground there in France, because you'd helped me to get a few events presented and that sort of thing. Now you have a huge community of Real Movement France. Like, what's going on with that? What's news with Real Movement France?
We got, like you said, we got a good community now. We've got 55 coaches in the community, in our network. And we started in 2017 after my trip in Australia, when we talk about growing a Real Movement in France. We started with a mentorship for the first year, 12 coaches, 12 enthusiastic coaches. And it worked from day one to the last day. It worked. I thought that was what they were missing in their education or in French coaching network. They were missing link, talking with other coaches, talking different approach. coming from different areas, and having 12 people plus me in the group and chatting every day about training, about mindset, about wellness was absolutely amazing. And I've always had positive feedback, which made me happy and enthusiastic to continue to grow the real movement. I really like the thing that with connecting people, and I think that's when I started the mentorship, I tried to be very, very good at what I shared with them about training, about mindset, about wellness. I thought the content of the mentorship is the key. If this is a good content, the coaches will be happy and they will stay with us. In fact, that was the case for the first 2 or 3 weeks, but what worked the best was just the connection between coaches. They were more enthusiastic to talk between them after that, and sharing stuff and having plans. And yeah, that was fantastic.
You've had a lot of guys there now. They've got all sorts of confidence. They've got facilities, or they're running their own workshops, and it's cool seeing people grow. Hey, from not really knowing where they're going to lots of confidence and going after all sorts of projects.
Yes, the first video I asked them is you have to do a presentation and just tell me what you expect from the mentorship and what are your limitations so far. And they maybe 10 on 12 say, I've got no confidence. And I was, wow, your coach, your personal trainer, your strength and conditioning coach, and you have no confidence. So that's hard to coach people when you don't trust in yourself. And that's hard to make people better. So, okay, we'll work about your confidence. And it was a long process. And we started with the mindset. So first, know who you are, then know what the style of person you want to become. So set your goals. What do you really want in life? What are your goals? And then when you know who you are and what you want, you can set the stages. And after that, what is the hardest for French coach or French people is consistency. So
I don't think that's only a challenge in France. I think everybody battles with consistency. I know I've had times where things are not going well, and I can't keep my thoughts on track, my actions on track. Or I know that I do it a lot more and a lot better when real movement is strong. So that's a big part of my motivation for the relaunch. And yeah, we've got 11 people now in the mentorship, and there's still a bunch more. And I think we're going to probably have our first group of 20 locked in within the next week or two. And yeah, I'm just very excited. They're great people. I'm looking forward to them coming together, meeting each other. Everything that's going on in this process. It's what I really what I'm really excited to do. And I'm very excited to link up more as well. We're getting those events together, the plan together to do some things over there in November and December. Linking up Real Movement France with Australia, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to more of the French guys coming out here, and we're connecting up some new coaches in Ireland and around Europe. So it's going to be really, I'm really excited for the European community to really take off and come over a couple of times a year to visit. But obviously, there's so many good coaches there, and obviously, you and Adrian leading up the European side. It's exciting to be doing this again. I don't think there's anything else out there like it. I've done a lot of the education programs, and there's definitely great stuff out there, but there's nothing like this that I've seen. So yeah, I'm great. I'm so glad that we get to work with you on that, and I'm really excited to sort of pull it all together now that I'm really back into this full time. You've sort of been doing it on your own over there in Europe the last couple of years and doing an amazing job, and yeah, it's going to be even more fun to work together for the next phase.
Yeah, Sure. Sure.
Anything else you want to you finish with there?
No, yeah, just to say, I think I really think real movement changed my life, and that's the thing I can hear from the coaches I mentor now in France as well. We just discover a lot of things. That's a holistic approach, so we learn about skills, mindset, wellness, training, movement for sure. But yeah, when I left the uni and I started working in Montpellier, I was just thinking, like I said, on strength program, weights program, endurance, speed, and I thought that was just the job of a coach. But now I know that when your mindset is on the right way, you can be a better coach, even if your program is not the best, but you can coach better if your mindset is good, if your health is good as well. Yeah, that's we can help people from many area. And I said sometimes you have a great athlete like Semi Radradra. I've got a great athlete, and I don't think I can help him more in the gym or with his speed or power. But I can help him maybe with his lifestyle, with diet, recovery, mindset. Yeah, that's the thing. Why real movement change life? It's because it's a holistic approach.
And we're still working towards the best programming as well. You know, I think that's not losing sight of that to look at all the other factors, getting the best we can do in each of the areas. Yeah, cool. Well, I really appreciate your time, Fred. Obviously, I really appreciate your friendship, and you know that you came out to spend some time with me and my family. End of 2016 was a really special time, and look forward to you doing it again and bringing you know, Sophie as well, hopefully. And peut-être on fait un autre en français si les gens en France ils veulent qu'on fait une autre en français, but maybe they'll understand as well. I don't know. We'll see what the response is, but if there's a demanda, then maybe we'll have a try.
Yeah, that will be good.
Perfect. Thank you for your time, Fred. It's getting very dark. I'm fading into the blackness here, even though it's not that dark yet. But have a great training session, and yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Be good. Talk to you soon.